Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Mercy Mbogori Kairich is a research scientist. This morning she joins us on the break. Good morning, Mercy.
Good morning.
Much appreciated for your company. As well, she is a mother to triplets who are autistic, the age of 13 years. You'll tell us more about that, which is in modern day today seen as a form of disability. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Harun Hassan is the former Chief Executive Officer of the National Council of Persons with Disability, NCPW. Good morning.
Morning.
Much appreciated. And he currently serves as a Commissioner at the Public Service Commission. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Kennedy Okongo is a Director of Programs at Riziki Source, which tracks the inclusion of disabled persons in the society, and he will tell us more about the now law which is in place versus the practical reality of what's expected of the society. And shortly we'll be joined by Nixon Kariri, who is the National Chairperson, KNAD, and he will be using his sign language interpreter here in the course of the broadcast. Lady and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. First, let's begin with the basics, starting with you, Mercy. How will what's now a law help the inclusion of persons with disability, and tell us more about how it will enhance going forward the acceptance, the address of the stigma and the societal barriers and the cultural barriers that have inhibited persons with disability and their inclusion into the society?
First of all, let me take this opportunity to appreciate being invited here to share my lived experience as a mother to 3 children with special needs. We appreciate the new law, and we look forward for its operationalization so that as parents and PWDs can be able to benefit from what it brings on board. Now, we have, the law brings on board a few new things, like health benefit to all PWDs. It is also bringing on board allowances for caregivers who are fully, they have left their jobs like me, and they are now fully taking care of their children, as well as we appreciate the tax exemption for parents and caregivers.
Tax exemptions for parents and their givers.
Yes.
Initially, it was supposed to be
just only the persons with disability. So this is a new thing that we hope and look forward that it's going to really benefit parents and ease the burden. And we hope that it's going to be rolled out in a very transparent way, learning from what the current trend where you have to go for vetting to KRA, as well as to the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. So there are a lot of questions parents are asking on that, and we hope that this show will bring out some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Harun, what do you make of the bill that was signed into an act of parliament, and how will it help your cause, a cause that you have been advancing for a very long time now?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayub. You know, the act that was repealed was Disability Act 2003. If you remember that act, it was signed by President Kibaki when he was barely on a wheelchair. You remember 2002, yes. 2003? Mm-hmm. President Kibaki was involved in a terrible road accident, and he was on a wheelchair. And that wheelchair meant something significant to millions of Kenyans with disabilities. And they literally petitioned the president. And the president saw it quite wise that, yes, this is quite timely. And he signed that act. And the whole essence was moving the agenda of disability from the persons with impairment to the barriers every day they contend with. And all forms of disabilities contend with different barriers. Those with physical disabilities, then, like President Kibaki when he was on a wheelchair, is more of physical built environment. Mm-hmm. That's why State House had ramp. They put a Harambe House, a ramp, Uhuru Park, everywhere. Yeah. But also other forms of disabilities have unique barriers. If you're blind, it's access to information. If you're deaf, equally the same. Then there are those with hidden disabilities like mental health, psychosocial, and many other things. So that act literally is start to redefine what it means to have a disability in this country. And it brought a lot of benefits now. It moved to the human rights of persons with disability, the issue as a human rights agenda. But the act was quite very broad, and we have not implemented fully. Because in the eyes of those who are to implement, it becomes very expensive. So what it means then, we have not attained so much from that bill. I mean from that act, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's how the stakeholders within the disability sector pushed very hard for many years that that act has to be repealed to conform with the current constitution of 2010. And it has been a struggle. And we must really thank His Excellency the President for getting into history by signing that piece of law to conform with the current constitution. Not only that, to also bring more raft of other benefit into this act, including the issue of caregivers and the parents of children with disability, which is clearly being defined there. And more importantly, aspect around even devolution or county government and disability. Because many times the county government do argue that disability is not a devolved function. It's a function of national government. Like there's a space called national where people live. People live in grassroots. So this act brings, so much benefit, and is something that we are really proud of. But not only that, I think this administration also passed national disability policy. This country never had a policy that operationalized all the gains, whether it is UN Convention on the Right of Person with Disability, whether it is this act, whether it is this constitution. We never had a policy. Cabinet in March approved. So there's so many things. But as you said in the introductions, the laws are there. But will we benefit from it?
Okay.
That's a hard question.
We'll talk about that because it comes to society and the norms that are there ideally. Yes, there's the law now, the practical part of now then living within the society because we are part of one society. Kennedy, just on, again, this law now, which the President has signed, how will it help persons with disability and the long clarion call of addressing their challenges to be mainstreamed as part of members of our society?
Yeah, I think for now we are celebrating the good provisions that are now in the legislation. As to whether we'll reap the benefits, that's a stage we'll have to reach later. There are very good provisions that, if implemented, are going to go a long way in ensuring that there is improvement in the lives of persons with disabilities. From Riziki perspective, because we have an interest in ensuring that many persons with disability access employment opportunities, there are very clear provisions that currently, according to this law, out of 20 employees that you have, one of them must be a person with disability. That one now is in the law. I think 5% of 20 is one.
5% of 20.
Yes, and in an establishment where the staffing levels are 20, one of them should be a person with disability. That one is now very clear. It has worked around the ambiguity that was in the previous act. If you also think about many other things that have always troubled persons with disabilities, access to education, the right to access opportunities in healthcare, things like that, the law has now pronounced itself much more articulately and in a manner that puts in good penalties in case of violations. A case that is different from the previous legislation that we had. For example, even the use of a derogatory term Previously, could use that, and the penalty was 20,000 fine. Now that one has been enhanced to, I think, something like $1 million. You see things like that. Okay. And enforcement is the key thing, that if at all we'll purpose to do enforcement, then you see us having a better society in terms of inclusion, and persons with disabilities will also benefit long-term as a result of a very responsive society that will be focusing on ensuring that the law is implemented.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mercy, then talk to us about your current space and the experiences that you live through in the case of your triplets, and how this will come in handy, given that it's a silent pandemic, autism, that rarely the society today talks about. How has it been? I mean, does then the bringing on board of the caregivers here be of any relief to you as a parent?
Ayub, thank you very much. First, let me just even step back and look at currently the provisions that are there, because there are provisions already, like the Inua Jamii, like the WESO, assistive devices. You find that when it comes to autism and other neurodevelopmental disabilities, what Hassan called hidden disabilities, we are really, we've not been taken forward. Like if you look at the disabilities of physical disabilities, the deaf, and the blind, which are really the classic disabilities that people know. And if you look at what those disabilities benefit vis-a-vis the hidden disabilities, there is a huge gap. So personally, and many other parents of children with autism, I cannot say that I have felt even an inch of even what is there currently, leave alone what will come on board. So we are still looking. The provisions are there. We are seeing now even the National Council of Persons with Disability really coming to understand what autism is and trying to embrace. We are seeing a situation where, like, for instance, those parents who need the anticonvulsants, now they can be able to get access to that. And but really, even when they talk about inclusion in schools, you will find that for the blind, their schools are very well provided. For the deaf, but go to, the hidden disability. Now they are talking about inclusion in schools, but what is it really, Ayub? And I would like the media to go down on the ground and assess themselves. Yeah. You will find that it's just a space of 4 walls. There are no resources. These children cannot learn the normal way using a blackboard. They need other teaching resources. These children have a lot of sensory issues. They need academics to go in line with the therapists in the same space, because these children require intensive therapies. Once a week will really not give you any significant benefit. So there is a lot that needs to be done, and we hope that during the implementation, we hope that everybody will really be brought on board, because even currently with what there is, we are left behind.
Yeah. Harun will talk about the census itself and what the sponsor of that bill, Senator Sige, had equally pointed out in terms of what we can do and what humans are able to do, the capacity question. But she points out a very fundamental point, doesn't she, of the hidden disability that go either undetected because of parents not knowing, or is ignored by the society, or is overlooked as a result of what's then becoming a silent pandemic brewing under our feet.
Yes. Ayub, disability is a very expensive lifestyle. But unfortunately, people with disabilities are the poorest in the society. I use a wheelchair now.
Yeah.
Wheelchairs are very expensive. It ranges from as cheap as 10,000 to as high as millions. You could require personal assistance. If someone is deaf, without sign language, they cannot communicate. If someone is blind, braille machines, or braille surfaces, very expensive. But more importantly, picking from what Marcia said, they are more expensive lifestyle than each other. Like children with autism and other related developmental disabilities, their lifestyles are extremely expensive. If not therapy, if not, daily care, but more importantly, even it leads to families even breaking up. Sometimes mothers actually carrying the burden. When I was the CEO at the National Council, every day I interact with many mothers, single mothers for that matter, who even leave their homes, their jobs, taking care of those children, forming groups, organizations, to see to it that those kids also they get the very best out of life. I'm very glad when I was at the council, I led, on implementation of the first program that exclusively target those with autism and related developmental disabilities, where they can access free medical services in all county governments in Kenya, where they can access free therapies, for the kids, and also the parent to get supported in issues of advocacy. So what it means, and what I'm trying to say generally, disability is a very expensive lifestyle. But disability will continue to be with us. In figures, it is estimated that about 6 to 7 million Kenyans are persons with disabilities, if we are to go by World Health Organization estimate. And this figure is on rise. Road accident like myself, every day many people are becoming injured. We are only told about death and those who become injured, but we are not told about that injury. Lifestyle diseases, hypertension, blood pressure, conflict and wars. The number continue increasing. What does that mean then to the nation in terms of budget, in terms of many other things? So this bill tries to address a number of things. Disability will continue to be with us, including old age. But what do? We have to focus on how to make sense out of all people by according them equal opportunities and equal right. That way, everybody will enjoy a platform where they are not quote-unquote a liability, but also contributing members of the society, including, and lastly, it defines also disability literally as economy. There's economics of disability. You see, if we set up factories to produce services for disabilities, what comes out of there will be much more than what is affirmatively allocated to persons with disability. And if I will demonstrate with wheelchairs, for example, if a simple wheelchair fabricated at APDK here in Nairobi costs about 30,000, 1 million Kenyans are using that wheelchairs at the minimum. 30,000 times a million. That's more than 30 billion. That's quite a lot of money. And imagine people who are employed there, the taxes that comes out of there. So all forms of disability are also economy. So these acts and this policy, if it is fully implemented, it will also draw the attention not from disability, but on the economics of the disability itself, and to see to it that the financing on disability agendas in form of affirmative action is much more inferior to what the economies of disability also generate. So it's more of narrative change also, literally. I don't know whether you're getting it.
And the paradigm shift in terms of the mindset.
Exactly.
As well, of the accommodation and stuff. Marcia and Kennedy, when we get back from the break now, we at length also talk about this, including what the senator also spoke about during a graduation ceremony, where she talked about the capacity of what persons with disability can do, but when they cannot, blamed for. But when the other persons who are able differently cannot do, then they are not blamed for, because they are seen as it's normal in the society. That entire mind shift and the needed paradigm shift in terms of the mindset to overcome the societal barriers as well is what we'll be discussing, including the census, because the number has lessened from 1.3 million persons in 2009 to 900 in 2019. And still this is not accounted for. Where are they? What happened to them? Because ideally every other thing is documented about the persons with disability. All that after the break here on the broadcast. We are back with Mercy, Harun and Kennedy here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.